is our discussion on Love and Death by Lord Byron.
Alright, I'll start. So first thing to just like look in for the poem, it's called Love and Death, and I think it's like a pretty big hint for what the poem is about, because it's mainly about love, but then it's also got death in it. But I only really see like the love part in it. I don't know if that's just me.
No, I think the poem does talk about death because or not explicitly, but at least close encounters with death and how that relates to love. So he almost watches his lover die, and then I think this
He's
poem,
willing to die.
yeah, he's willing to die.
His love.
And then this poem is written, it was written during Lord Byron's later years.
It's his last poem.
Yeah, it's the last poem, so
Right.
it relates love to death. I think that's what the poem is about.
But it's not like he'd be willing to die for his own specifically. It says, when overworn with watching, never to rise, from thence if thou an early grave has found. It's not saying it's like I'll die for you. It's like
No, that's
if
what
you
it
die,
says.
I'll stay with you and I'll die along with you.
Which is basically the same thing.
And then in the first stanza, he literally said, I think the first stanza directly translates to I would rather kill both of us than our love and liberty be lost.
Yeah.
So I think it's like a direct correlation of basically how their love and death relates, how maybe one can't exist without the other, I guess.
Yeah.
And I feel like him saying he's willing to die and all that, it's not just him saying it, it actually has substance, right? Because he wrote it when he was serving in the Greek War, and then I feel like this is partially true to what happened because the descriptions, it talks about Greek earthquakes and stuff.
You could be writing for love for Greece or something like that.
I don't think specifically
It's not.
love for Greece.
Yeah.
It's love for his page, a 15-year-old Greek boy.
Yeah.
So. It's not.
I mean, you still don't know who it's not, never confirmed.
So what do we think about the three I watched the first three
Yeah.
stanzas? What do
I
you
think-
about that?
I think it's more interesting, not how it's repeated, I watched the. I think it's more interesting where it stops being repeated. Specifically, it's at the earthquake came and rocked the quivering wall. You can also see it's breaking the poetic rhythm of I watched thee, and it's also got a lot of consonants. The earthquake came, and you have the, So it's just a shock kind of.
Also, I think the pace of the poem picks up quite a bit after
Yeah.
the eye wash, because the first eye wash is sort of Lord Byron is contemplating his love, and then afterwards he's describing and remembering what happened.
It's idea comes
Yeah,
to reality.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
but it's also this the earthquake came and rocked the quivering wall, and whom did I seek around the tottering hall? For thee, whose safety first provide for thine. So it's it was all for you, even through this big catastrophe. It's all about doing stuff for you.
Right, and I think that also relates back to the first stanza, because it's I would rather be with you, die together, than be divided but still living. And then that relates to the fourth stanza where Lord Byron says in the heat of the moment when he's almost going to die, he's there providing for him, so that he's acting out his sort of love for him and refusal to die without him, I guess.
She said nothing. Said, but I guess you can also say that's probably another reason why it's called Love and Death, because now that I'm thinking about it, it's just tying in together the theme of we're both dying together. It says that 3 times, ready to strike at him.
And I think it's interesting at the last stanza, he lets whoever his addressee is, he lets that person go and acknowledges that it's not returned, and so he's not in the first stanza, he's like, I'll kill both of us rather than our love be separated. But by the end of the last stanza, he's like, love is not a choice, it's not a love. So
Hmm.
I think that's interesting.
And I mean, that's more of like, I think, I don't know how like intentional this would have been, but it's more like, that's more a progressive view as like the poem progresses.
Yeah.
So, it's probably playing around with that when he wrote it.
Yeah, I think there is quite a sharp change in the last stanza where he turns from like, oh, it's just all about love, but then in the last stanza he's sort of willing to give up that love and he recognizes that, you know, it's never going to happen, and that well, nor can I blame thee. So he understands that, well, the situation is just ridiculous, and you know, there's no chance of the Greek boy loving him back. And I guess he's expressing his sorrow, I think. So he says like, too strongly, probably, vainly love thee still. So there's a sort of vanity in his love for the boy because he realized that it's never going to happen. So it's sort of like love and death. It's about love, but it's also about like grief at the same time. So that, I guess, relates back to death.
Yeah,
So that's sort of why the poem is titled Love and Death.
yeah, but it's also, it's like, I never will, love dwells not in our will, nor can I blame thee, though it be my lot. It's so sad, and it's like, you could call it the death of the love between them,
Yeah,
kind of. So it's just saying that.
I also thought it was like interesting, like they didn't have like this love, but they had like, this camaraderie. Like if you look at lines 5 through 7, like it's talking about like just having each other's back.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a definite like progression.
Yeah.
So,
So then what do we think what Byron says about love as well? Because I think that's sort of the main theme. Then you think nobody's trying to argue.
I kind of get it. I don't know if it's that much of an argument, but it's like, at first, it's like, I'll die for our love, and it's like constantly repeated. It's like, love is undying. But then he also says at the end, it's like, love dwells not in our will. It's not a choice. And so I think that's what he's trying to argue about, like in this poem, if anything. It's be, love is not a choice, and it doesn't matter like what's happening. So I think that's interesting.
Yeah, because I can really see sort of beyond the sort of sentimental,
Yeah.
I would say, whining and yapping, I would say.
I think it like says
Yeah.
something that like he loves that person enough that he can like his Byron like loves that his addressee so much that he can acknowledge to like let that person go. I think that's like a different
Yeah.
type. Like it would be sort of like superficial if you like love your addressee so much but you're not like throughout all 5 of these stanzas he's like, I'm not gonna let you go, I'm not gonna let you go. That's sort of like a superficial love, but it turns more into like a more, you know, like a deeper type of like feeling because he's able to acknowledge that, you know, I can let you go. So I think that there's like, I guess there's like a change in degree to like how real his love is. I don't know.
I don't think he ever sort of lets go though.
He says-
he still says like you're strong.
I'll still love you, but like I acknowledge that you might not, you know.
Yeah, like specifically with like wrongly, vainly.
I think wrongly, I think that just mean like the wrongly inclusion of that word, like it just like shows that even he acknowledges like this is never gonna happen and it's better for like the boy to just
Yeah.
Goes
But
on.
he still says strongly loves thee still, so
yeah.
the feelings are still there, but then he just fails to recognize that.
Yeah,
Like he knows
Yeah,
like it's better if it doesn't happen, but
he knows it's better if it happens, but he also knows it's like, well, it's not a choice.
Mm.
Yeah, so it's just a conflict. And again, it's like conflict, I think you could probably argue that's one of the main themes.
Right.
Like, I watched thee when the foe was at her side, love and death, those are 2 conflicting ideals. I was like, it's like, he's talking about a ship and sailing, and it's like, I watched thee on the breakers and stuff. Again, it's like conflict, it's not like between a person and a person, but it's like, it's a different kind of conflict, so I think that would be a theme.
Do you want to talk about like the poetic like tools used in it?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of because it's an older propositional law being used. So then on the slides, we have, okay,
Yeah.
okay, I guess we talked about the anaphora. Oh yeah, okay, there was one anaphora that I was kind of confused on. In like the second stanza, there's like the repetition of like but. It says, and made thee cling to me through every shock. This arm would be thy bark or breast thy buyer. What do you think like the repetition of like be, like what do you think that signifies?
I think it's more of just like a softer sound because it thinks like I watched thee on the breakers when a rock received our prow and all was storm and fear. That's got more of a consonance to it. Than B, it's not like a k, it's a b. It's a softer sound. So this arm would be thy bark or breast thy beer.
I feel like the like in the earthquake and then like rocking and quivering, that's like the violent, but then like the B,
Yeah.
he's like describing like supporting stuff, like supportive stuff. Like they have his arm would be his bark or breast or his
I
buyer.
think it sort of gives emphasis to, as Gordon was saying, it just sort of gives that stanza more of the sort of tempo.
Yeah.
of rhythm to
Because
it.
with the iambic pentameter, you have like bade being emphasized on and bade the
Yeah, bark and
bark
beer
and beer.
would be emphasized.
Yeah.
Breast, beer. This is ba, ba, ba.
Yeah, I think all the consonant sounds in stanza 2 are the heavy beat.
Heavy.
Yeah. So like, I watched the other, wait, hold on. Breakers on the rock, receive the prow, storm, and then fear, cling, shock, bark, and beer. So then these are all are like plosives, so they're made with sort of the stopping and then
Yeah.
of air. So then, yeah, this sort of emphasizes and gives the stanza a meter to it, which I think is what we're trying to say here.
Yeah.
But still, it's just like everything in this poem, it's just about the contrast between love and death. Like, when the fever glazed thine eyes, it's like,
Yeah.
at this time people were still dying from fevers a lot, right? And it's fever, and it's like, he yielded his couch. It's like, here, you can have what's mine. I'll give it all to you. So it's like, even in the face of death, I'll still love you.
Yeah.
There's also a lot of like enjambments in here, like in second stanza, and then let's see,
Mm.
the third stanza, and between the third and fourth lines. I think that just creates like emphasis between the, you know, the idea that he's trying. Like he says, "I watched thee on the breakers, on the rock," and so he's like emphasizing that there is danger, that there's like, you know, a rock there, and then he goes on to receive your prow, and then same in the third one. When overworn with watching, ne'er to rise, and he stops at rise, saying, like, emphasizing just how, like, severe or, like, how much his love for that person is. Like, he never would rise if that person died, so.
And I think in to the even the gasp of death, I think the pause right there
Yeah.
could also be like a symbolic of the gasp of like to thee, even the gasp of death between no, hold on. To thee, even the gasp of death, my spirit turns, so that there is a gasp sort of between those
Those
two
two
lines.
lines,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
But it's also, I
Yeah.
think it's like, the first couple stanzas, it's more like memories, and then the last one, it's like, thus much and more.
Mhm.
So I think the last stanza is like the one written in like the present tense. All the ones, it's like, these are the things
So
that
then it
happened.
sort of progresses.
Yeah.
The poem.
It's looking back.
And then there's one more enjambment in the sixth, like, nor can I blame thee, though it be my lot. And he stops at be my lot. So, like, he shifts the focus over back to himself rather than,
Yeah, I just also say like with that line, it's nor can I blame thee, that would be my lot. It's like you and me still.
like, separation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially like in that last paragraph where it's all talking about like, oh, you're not gonna love me, and having the extra separation in there just to like really emphasize the point.
Yeah.
Okay. I think.
I think that's good. Alright.
How long is this?
That was, oh,